Joining us right now, the voice of your San Francisco 49ers. He joins us each and every Thursday. Well, it was off last week, but rightfully so. And I believe he was enjoying the sunshine and fine cuisine in Spain. He's back with us today, Greg Papa. Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I was babysitting on my twins. No, actually, it was a magnificent trip. I had not been to Spain. Went to Madrid. My last two kids are studying abroad in Madrid this quarter. So I went and visited both of them. Went to see a soccer match, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and had a great time. So not too often I get to go away like that during a football season, but the bye week is so early this year. It actually is before basketball starts. So I got a Warrior game on Saturday at the Lakers. So almost every other year, whether I'm doing baseball or something, it doesn't coordinate to do this. But it was great. And I got my kids settled, and I can come back and get back to work now.
Greg Papa with us. And before we get into the meat and potatoes of the interview, you know, a lot of times these things happen behind the scenes in our business, Greg, but I'm not the average bear there. I need to give you a public apology. I am truly sorry. You know how much I love and respect you.
What happened? What are you apologizing for?
I'm going to tell you. So I feel terrible about this. I woke up this morning about 3:45. I'm sipping my coffee. I'm doing my normal routine, just trying to get the bugs out of my head. My kids were up last night with homework, and I thought, Jay Ross is doing afternoons this week, so we're kind of split up. And it occurred to me, oh my gosh, Greg was in Spain last week. I'm not sure anybody's contacted him about the show today. So you'll remember I texted you around 4:30, 4:45 this morning, and I did the math in my head, and I said, hey, I just want to make sure you can come on. I know this is going to be about 4:30 p.m. your time, because, Greg, in my mind, in my hazy, addled mind, I thought you were in London getting ready to call the Raider game. And then when you texted me back that you were in California, here's how stupid I am, Greg. My thought was, oh my gosh, he's still in. So what, is he going to fly into London tomorrow? Okay, he's still in California. Okay, he's going to fly. That's how stupid I am, Greg. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, A, for texting you that early, and B, for making the mistake of still being too sleepy. I apologize. So
we talking 49ers Browns, or do you want to talk Raiders and Khalil Stack? And actually, my son is going to London. He's going to go to the game.
Really?
So he's going. I moved on from the Raiders, but my two boys have not. So,
I understand.
But anyway, you know what? You apologized. I think you thought you woke me up.
Yeah.
I was up like 3 hours before that. So I don't know what time zone I'm in. Most of my life, I grew up on the East Coast. I think even though I've been living on the West Coast, Dave, since August of '86, I have lived my entire life on the West Coast as an East Coast time zone guy. It was because having kids, and when I get off a trip, I'd have to, feed the baby in the middle of the night or do something. And I don't sleep a whole lot anyway. I sleep 4 or 5 hours a night. Actually, sometimes it's the day, sometimes it's the night. I don't know. But I think I'll get this figured out by Monday night at 5 o'clock when the 49ers play. I got to stay up till at least 9 o'clock that night, so I got to stay up.
So I have this thought in my head. If you were, I fully believe you were still awake, or you had gotten up, or whatever it was, that you were awake at that time. And I feel like you have like this inner sanctum in your house where you're just sitting there watching football with a little clicker in your hand, running back game film and all that. I feel like that because you're so encyclopedic. That's what I believe you do in all your free time.
I was actually watching the A's game back.
Oh, okay.
And I was going through that and grinding through some poor at bats. But I had a 12-hour flight. So what was it? Monday, I left Madrid and flew all the way to London, all the way to LAX, which is a long flight.
Yeah.
Normally you break it up. So that. I think I watched every Cleveland Brown game they've ever played, going back to Otto Graham against the 49ers in the All-American Conference. And so I did watch a lot of football for the entire flight, and I've watched the Browns quite a bit since I've been home. But actually, when you texted me, I was just starting to watch the Oakland A's.
Okay, well then let's go. Cookie Cutter Sports Radio here, voice of the 49ers, Greg Papa. If the Browns beat the 49ers at Levi Stadium Monday night, what do you think will be the main thing they accomplished in order to get that victory?
Well, I think, Baker Mayfield, because he's the quarterback and the number one pick, and he's so brash and out there, and he's Baker, he gets a lot of the attention. But if I had to rank their players, I'm not sure where he would rank, but it would be maybe towards the last half of their starters. They've got a really good defensive line. Their two best players are Myles Garrett and Odell Beckham Jr.
Yep.
And they do it in very different ways, and they're both going up against guys with the 49ers are having to play backups. Joe Staley did very well. Justin School made the start. Joe was out, and Justin played well, but Joe's not going to play, and Myles Garrett will line up over that side. Olivier Vernon will also line up over him some. He's a dominant player, and Justin School played well against Pittsburgh, but this is a dominant player. He's not quite Khalil Mack, but I think he's a better edge rusher earlier in his career than Khalil was, and he's that good of a player. And then Odell Beckham Jr., Ahkello Witherspoon's got this foot injury. So they're going to throw Emmanuel Mosley, I think, out there. They're going back to real work today, and I'll be at practice tomorrow to look at it. But I think that's the way they're going to go. So you're going to have some coverage to deal. You're going to have to double both of those guys. You're going to have to sign two to deal with that, to block Garrett, and to deal with Beckham Jr. And you go back and watch the Baltimore game, David. I know, the Browns rolled up 530 yards, and so many people make a big deal out of it. Beckham only had 20 yards receiving, didn't catch a ball to the fourth quarter, had 2 catches. He was involved in so many of their plays. The tight end, Ricky Seals-Jones, touchdown. 2 guys jumped Odell Beckham Jr. and just dropped the tight end. There were some clever plays. They actually did a double reverse pass with him. There was a triple option play where Jarvis Landry ran into the 1-yard line, drove at the pylon. It was all because of the threat of pitching the ball to Odell Beckham Jr. So those 2 guys are their 2 best players. You're going to have to assign 2. And then going back to the last game, I mean, you just can't. You're very fortunate to win a game when you turn the ball over 5 times. 4 times in the first half, and 3 of the 5 turnovers were inside the scoring zone. You just can't do that. So I think the 49ers, from top to bottom, a better team. Cleveland's got a really good roster, and they got good players that I haven't even mentioned. But I think the 2 guys you got to worry about in light of the injuries to Joe and Spoon and School and Mosley, having to start, are Myles Garrett and Odell Beckham Jr.
So help walk me through this here as a Niner fan. I don't know whether to feel badly because the 49ers turned the ball over 5 times against the lowly Pittsburgh Steelers and barely escaped with a victory, or to feel really good that good teams find a way to win games in which they turn the ball over 5 times. Which way do you think the thought process should go there?
Totally the latter. And Pittsburgh's not that lowly. I mean, their defensive line at times dominated the game. And the 49ers had to change the way they ran. They didn't run as wide in this game. They had to run more inside. And you saw what Pittsburgh did to Cincinnati. And, you could say Cincinnati's not a good team. These are all NFL players. These are all the best of the best. Some are better than others. Some teams are better than others, obviously. But they're all very capable any given week. That's the way this league is. It's week to week. So the fact that they were able to overcome that was really impressive. And all the while, I thought they were going to win the game. There wasn't a point where I thought it was going to slip away because their defense only allowed Pittsburgh to score 6 points, kick 2 field goals after turning the ball over 4 times, which is amazing. And 3 were in the red zone, but 2 gave Pittsburgh great drive starts. I think the 26 and the 33-yard lines. I'm telling you, Dave, this defense is special. And I'm not, they're young. They're really young. I mean, look at the ages of the guys on defense. Outside of Richard Sherman, you got babies. They are good now, and they're going to be good for a long time. Hopefully if they can stay healthy and together. And in free agency, it's hard to keep them all. But Nick Bosa is just scratching what he's going to be. I keep comparing him to his brother, and I know how good Joey is. He may be better. He may be better. And Dee Ford is that good. You got to keep him healthy. Not go through all the guys, Buckner and Armstead. You got to find a way to try to keep that guy. He's starting to develop. So their defense won him the game. It saved them, kept him in the game, and then Garoppolo just showed fearlessness. I mean, to stand in there and take the hits that he took, and you worry about. One thing you just worry about is him taking that one hit that's going to, lay him out again because he is so tough. But he played a tough football game. Was it a couple of weeks ago on Sunday when they beat the Steelers?
Yeah, got hit 8 times by the Steelers. Got sacked once. And when you talk about some of the injuries, like Bosa, for example, that they've been dealing with, you worry about rust coming off a bye week, but in the Niners' case, do you push the rust aside, the greater advantage being the extra week of rest, that they've had time to nurse those injuries and get a little healthier?
Yeah, but football, and they've lost a prominent player in each week with injuries, with Coleman and Staley and Witherspoon. And that's kind of what you have to brace for in the NFL, is that if you can get out of each game with one, you're kind of okay. And you hope it's not. I mean, you lost your left tackle, you lost your cornerback, obviously, you lost your lead running back. But if you can keep the quarterback going, so I don't know. I when the schedule came out, I saw week 4 bye. I thought, wow, that's not good.
Yeah.
But in light of all the injuries, it buys an extra week. Staley didn't have to play. You didn't miss him last week because you didn't play, and I can go on and on. So there's no really good time for it. I mean, we could easily say, you wish you had the bye in week 9 because all the injuries cropped up. But I do worry about rust. I do a little bit. The way the CBA is now, you got to give them 4 consecutive days off. So they practiced, after the Steeler game, they practiced on that Tuesday, but they were off Wednesday all the way through the weekend, came back on Monday, had a workout, and they were off yesterday. They'll resume today. I think there is a little bit of a rust factor, just a little bit of a rhythm. I'll be anxious to see if Kyle just kind of keeps it simple, more on offense, I think, with ball handling and such to start the game. And you don't want to get off to a bad start, obviously, on Monday Night Football and take the energy of the crowd. So, and the fact that you're coming off the bye with a Monday night game, it's only one extra day. But this is the longest break by schedule you can have in the NFL. It's going to be 15 days between the Steeler game and the Browns game on Monday night.
Greg Papa, the voice of the 49ers, joining us. And Greg, I want to take advantage of your knack for going behind numbers here. Fantasy football fans will look at George Kittle and think, he hasn't gotten in the end zone yet. It's been 3 games, and he's had a couple we saw called back, but 17 catches, $165, no touchdowns. Yet George Kittle's also the highest-ranked player, according to Pro Football Focus, in the league. Not the highest tight end, the highest-ranked player. What are some of the things that you're seeing Kittle's doing this year that aren't showing up necessarily in the numbers?
Well, he had 2 touchdowns called back in Tampa, so he should have had scores. But they are rolling coverages to him. There's no doubt. Like everything I said about OBJ in the Baltimore game, you can't quantify his impact by the stat sheet. He was so impactful in defenses rolling his way and doubling him. They had a safety over the top the whole day. And they are clearly, to me, and I said it a few times, I forget what game it was, I think maybe in the Tampa game, 3rd down, you're looking to Kittle. I mean, for years with the Chargers, it was Antonio Gates. Where's Gates? Where's Gates? I think it's the same, and they wear the same number. I mean, where's 85? If you're a team and you get Garoppolo into a 3rd and 4 or longer, you got to take Kittle away. He's the guy, and they are doing that. But beyond that, he is like a 6th offensive lineman. He is like he's not big enough to call him a tackle, but he lines up when he's in line. And, the wide tight end position, there's 2 ways to deploy him. Many ways. They can move all around the formation, but when he's tight just next to a tackle, that's the Y inline tight end. And because he's next to a tackle, but he runs like a guard or he runs like a running back. And, last year he led the NFL in yards after catch. He has got the Steeler game, he blocked his ass off. The Cincinnati game, though, my Lord, there were like 4 or 5 and he doesn't even, he's not like, when Gronk was healthy or Mike Ditka back in the day or really good inline blocking tight end where they just kind of, blocking sled, come at you with a full body. He can do that, and he can pancake guys, but his ability in space to get out and lead block and then get low on smaller men and chop their legs out. It's like, whoa, who is this guy? So, I mean, there have probably been 8 to 10 blocks in space this year, Dave, that he has made that you would say, wow, he's like a fullback, or, but he's built differently. So he is a magnificent football player, and he's not all that consumed. Yeah, he wants to score. He's like anybody else. He wants to fill the end zone. But he impacts the game on just about. I mean, if you go through and watch every game and every snap and just grade him, good snap, bad snap. I don't know if he's had very many bad snaps all year, and some have been. You got to look closely for him to find the block, and some are just amazing. You just don't see tight ends block like that in space.
Voice of the Niners, Greg Papa, and once again taking advantage of your Swiss Army knife-like qualities to talk sports. We carry the A's on this station. We have covered them all year long, and I know you're extremely close to the situation down there, and we'll be talking about it. I would just love your take. Last night, once again, they've lost 9 straight winner-take-all games. What do you say to fans? How do you end the season, really, and put a bow on it, for lack of a better term, for the Athletics?
Well, I did the A's games for 14 years, and I was there, right after the '89 World Series when they won. I saw the heartbreak in '90 against the Reds. Far better team, should have won that series. And then in '92, and that gave it up to Robbie Alomar, and they were a better team, and it just went on. And then I was there, obviously, with the Hudson, Mulder, Zito group, and the heartbreak. I mean, the first 4 years of the new millennium in 2000 through '03, just heartbreak, and there were so many situations, up 2-0 against the Yankees, the Jeter flip play to get Giambi, the on and on and on, the Johnny Damon injury, Jermaine Dye gets hurt, it goes on and on. I mean, and then this group, I just think last night, you could lay it off to Verlander was just a buzzsaw. Some years you couldn't touch the guy. I think Charlie Morton last night was vulnerable. I know how good he is, but he was not good. He was not sharp last night.
Yep.
His curveball was all over the place, and there's just several at-bats you'd like to have back. Profar had 2 hits last night, but the 2 outs he made, I think, were huge in the bottom of the first when you had the bases loaded, and he gets just a hanging curveball. He should have driven it. He just popped it out. And, 32 pitches in the bottom of the first, you don't score there. And then Profar later in the game chases a high fastball and strikes out. But Olsen had a few poor at-bats. Simeon got blown away. Chris Davis just has been lost the whole year.
Yeah.
And I'm just not a fan of his at all. Zero. I just I can't understand how a guy opens up his front foot like that, steps in the bucket so decidedly. And they got him out on pitches away last night, and one I don't even think he swung at.
Yeah.
But I don't know how he handles the outside corner, the way he opens up. He did in earlier years when he hit the 47 annually, but he's just not there. So it is what it is, Dave. I mean, they overachieve every year, but when you get into the postseason, you just want to come up with the big hit. And I remember when I was doing the A's games, I've had a lot of discussions with Billy Beane about, clutch situations, runners in scoring position. And when you crunch all the numbers, Billy's theory is that his theory basically is there are no such things as clutch players, and I just don't agree with that. I think certain guys come through in certain situations, and their inability to come through with timely hits. They had more hits last night than the Rays, but they didn't get them at the right time, and a lot of that is just the other side bears down. It's hard. It's hard when you win back-to-back, 97 win years and you go out and one and done on the wild card, but you're in the same division as the Astros. So the question now is, can they keep this group together? Luzardo and obviously Puck and, some of the young arms they have, Minaya, and is Darrell Cotton ever going to come back? And if they could ever get the stadium situation figured out, and who knows if they will, and Oakland's doing it again. You already lost the Warriors, and Raiders really want to sue here.
Yeah.
So in any event, if they could ever keep this group together, because they kind of have the ability to keep the big 3 pitchers, Mulder, Hudson, Zito, but then you had Giambi, Tejada, and Chavez, and you've got the 2 Mats and Simeon. You've got first, short, and third. You've got the starters. The question is, they're going to become free agents at some point. The RBers are going to be eaten up, and you're going to have to pay them. And they're going to move on. You just don't want to see this group do what they did for years, going back to Connie Mack's Philadelphia A's, to the KC A's, and even Charlie. I mean, how many championships consecutively would Vida and Reggie and Catfish's group had won?
Yeah.
If free agency never came into baseball with the Messerschmitt rule, there would have been no big red machine. The A's would have won every year. So it's just, here we go again. But it's hard. It's hard. But they had a great year, but it's disappointing to see that crowd. They were so jacked last night, 55,000, and they just never got a chance to get into it because, leadoff home run and another bomb, and you don't get anything in the bottom of the first when you make them throw 32 pitches. That was tough.
Voice of the Niners, Greg Papa, wears so many different hats, and we will listen to him Monday night, 5:15. Always appreciate your time, Mr. Papa. We will talk to you soon.
So what time zone? What time is it here?
I'm going to send you.
It's almost 8 o'clock. Yeah. I went too long. You got to do something else. So
we'll see you.
I'll figure it out. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Greg. Bye. That's Greg Papa.
The Drive.